Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me here on Live Your Best Life. I'm just excited. I tell you, I went to a class yesterday and it was just amazing. Just a good energy. I left feeling balanced and energetic, and it was just amazing, amazing. I was like hyper all night long from just the life flowing through me. It was one of those classes that really speaks and brings life into you. And listen, I got to give a shout out to Bridge Spring Balancing, Joan Pennington. If you're in the local area, get connected with Joan, because she is an amazing woman. She's my dear friend, a dear mentor that has helped me so much, and she absolutely speaks life into you. So, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Regina Sanders. I'm an accredited life coach that received my accreditation through IACCC. And listen, in South Carolina, you don't have to be accredited to be a life coach. But I chose to be accredited to better serve you, but also because I needed to invest in myself. I needed to show myself that I recognized that value and that worth. I am a survivor of stage 3 colon cancer. I am healthier today than I was pre-cancer, and I'm loving it. I am doing things now, and I'm gonna tell my age. I'm 47. I just turned 47 in December. I'm doing things now in my life that I didn't do in my 20s. That, I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't confident with my body back in my 20s. But I wasn't willing to take the necessary steps to live my best life. I didn't have a clue. I didn't know what was going on. But God healed me of stage 3 colon cancer. He gave me a new lease on life, and I've decided to live my best life. And what an amazing journey this has been. You've heard me say before how much more energy I have now after almost 2 years post chemo and going through a year and a half of no energy. To have this energy and this life just soaring through my body is awesome. It is one of the most awesome gifts from God. So as we get ready to move into our little topic for today, I want you to do a little exercise with me. It's real easy. You don't even have to move from your desk. I want you to just take your fingers and pull on your ears and massage your ears. I want you to massage from the top and all around and kind of pull them out from your head. And just do this for a few seconds, applying gentle pressure. Don't make it hurt, but just enough to know that you're there, and really massage on your ears. Now, what is this going to do? This is going to open up your understanding so that you can fully understand what's being taught. It helps you listen better. And we're going to talk a little about listening today. But before I get into the listening, I want us to talk about the word awesome. What is awesome? I mean, we say it all the time. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's great. But what is awesome? What is it? Well, awesome simply means that someone has performed on a level that has been beyond expectation. Beyond expectation. Our God is awesome. He always, always performs for us on a level that is beyond our wildest expectations. He tells us in His Word that His thoughts are not our thoughts, and His thoughts are higher than our thoughts, and they truly are. And this is why He encourages us to follow Him and not lean into our own understanding. So, I want to be an awesome person. I want to run an awesome business, because what that's going to do is is this going to bring more value to you? So I have a question for you today. What is the best way that I can add value to you? Now I've got my listening ears on. I've massaged them. I've got them ready so I can gain that understanding. So if you will, post in the comments below, to you as an individual or as a business or a ministry, what is the best way that I can add value to you? What is one of your pain points that you would like me to address to help move you beyond that point of pain into a victorious life? Listen, you are an awesome person. You are. I tell you all the time that you're worthy, you're valuable, and you're loved. But we're going to add to that today, and I'm going to tell you, you're awesome. You're totally awesome. You exceed expectations. Even your own expectations, you exceed. And I'm thankful for you. I am so thankful. So, I've been reading this book I picked up actually at a truck stop when my husband and I went to Mississippi the other weekend. And it's a really good book. It's How to Listen So People Will Talk. For many years, I thought I was this wonderful listener. You know, I would tell people all the time, I may not have advice to give you, but I can listen. And then I learned that maybe I wasn't doing the best listening because I was listening to respond rather than listening to understand, to gain hearing, to simply allow someone to be heard. One lesson that I have learned in this life is one of the largest basic human needs that any of us has, and all of us has, is a desire to be heard. Truly heard, not necessarily answered, just heard. So, we learn in Proverbs chapter 1, verse 5, God says, let the wise listen and add to their learning. Let the wise listen and add to their learning. And this is one reason we did our ear massages. Brings us into balance, opens our mind for understanding. So the author writes, I'm convinced that until we risk asking for honest feedback, we can't grow. And even though we want personal growth, it can sure feel painful, right? I was committed to personal growth. I just hadn't anticipated the pain when I asked my teen daughter one crucial question. Do you think I listen well? Now, as I read these words of this author, I could absolutely imagine her going to her teen daughter and saying, do you think I listen well? And, you know, she was prepared for, oh, yes, Mom, you're a wonderful listener, and I know this from experience. I've raised 2 daughters through those teen years, and I have asked them about my listening, and they were brutally honest with me. And you know what? Sometimes even later on, when I thought, okay, I've learned from them, I'm doing better. No. They come back and they're like, Mama, you don't ever listen. And so it's something I'm still working on. I'm a work in progress. But I desire to be a better listener. The author goes on, I expected the conversation to go much differently. Honestly, I was expecting rave reviews, but that's not exactly the way the conversation went. Note to self, don't ask your kids their opinion unless you're prepared for what they really think. But I had asked, and she answered, well, insert long pause. Sometimes you listen well, but you seem distracted a lot. Often you dive in with your own story or interrupt. Sometimes you give advice And I just want you to listen. I want to feel validated. Now, it's really important what she said here. She wants to feel validated. Don't we all? Sometimes there's not a need for words. They just simply need us to hear them, to understand them, and not say a word. Not say a word. You know, I think back to my early marriage, and I have to say my dad was always a wonderful listener. Whether I was ranting and venting about my husband or about things at work, whatever was inside of me that needed to come out, he just sat and listened. And very often never opened his mouth, just sat and listened. Let me say what I needed to say. And what this exercise did was allow me to get those thoughts outside of my head. And I had my own answers. God was able to guide me in the steps I needed to take, the paths I needed to walk, just simply by speaking the words out loud and getting them out of my head. And my dad had enough wisdom to listen, not offer advice, not get in the middle of any marital situations or any work situations, to just listen. And this tremendously helped me in life. So the author says, later that night I lay in bed processing my question internally. What does she mean? Am I really that self-focused that I dive in with my own stories, taking away from hers? And then there was the whole question of advice. Aren't mothers supposed to give advice? I mean, we have so much wisdom. How do I validate if I don't agree with what she's feeling? And am I really that distracted? She was right. I did sometimes interrupt, but doesn't everybody interrupt at times? I felt pretty sure I was better than most moms. Then it dawned on me, an aha moment. I'm being defensive. Oh, help me, God. I'm being defensive. So this question that she asked from her daughter, of her daughter, and the answer that she received from her daughter helped her do what is called righteous judgment. It helped her examine her own life. And then it allowed her to see where she was getting defensive. Now, the getting defensive part is where our subconscious decides it's time to protect us. We're in that fight or flight mode. But it has to come to the surface. We have to be able to see it and recognize it so that we can surrender it to God, and He can bring that healing in those areas that we need it to come into. Every victory, including my walk with cancer, came through surrender. It came through surrender. So this led her to desire, number one, to be a better listener. It opened her eyes to areas that she wasn't being a great listener in. And then she had a choice to make. What am I going to do with the information that my daughter shared with me? What am I going to do with this truth? Am I going to continue to do the same things that I've been doing? Or am I going to be willing to work on this and say, okay, God, pluck some of this arrogance out of me that I don't even recognize as arrogance. Humble me enough that I can truly listen to my daughter, that I can validate her. I know I'm going to mess up, but I'm willing to walk in the transformation. I'm willing to walk in the truth and to surrender this to you. So now I want you to do something, and I want you to just take a moment and reflect and ask yourself honestly, do my loved ones feel safe enough to express their hearts? Or are they afraid I'll dive in with unwanted and unsolicited advice? When I'm with a friend at lunch, do I text or check social media while she's talking? And this is something I've really had to check myself on. Not necessarily when I'm with a friend at lunch, but when my family is talking to me. Reading in this chapter has alerted me that there are times I'm distracted by social media, or I'm distracted by my phone, or I'm distracted by my computer, and I'm not giving them that undivided attention that they need. And that is something that I have to change. So ask yourself this: how would my co-workers rate me as a listener? And the author says, I'm not trying to lay a guilt trip on you. I'm just trying to encourage you to examine your listenership and be willing to grow. Because here's the deal. People feel more loved and valued if we are actively and attentively listening to them. And it's a truth. It's a truth. You know, I did an experiment a few years ago with my husband, and he wasn't a willing participant simply because he didn't know we were doing an experiment. But he participated, and it went as I thought it would. So let me tell you what this experiment is. He came home from work one day, and when he came in, I said, well, hi, honey, how was your day? And, you know, he said, the same old, same old. And I said, okay, so that means you're tired. It was long. Probably, he's a truck driver, so, you know, he had those people that don't properly respect 18-wheelers. And I said, so was there more? And he sat and he thought a minute. And he continued with some specifics about his day. And so I said back to him, what I hear you saying is, and I repeated to him what he had said to me. And then I said, is there more? And he thought a minute, and he continued. And again I said, what I hear you saying is, and repeated to him what he had said. And we did this until I said, is there more? And he said, no, that's all. And so then we just kind of sat looking at each other for a moment, and I said, now I need to ask you something. And he said, okay. And I said, did you notice anything different with our conversation? And he said, yeah, you really listened. You were very interested in my day, in what happened to me, what I felt. And, you know, I didn't offer that unsolicited advice. I didn't get distracted. I was intentionally focused on him. So that helped me to practice becoming a better listener. It is something I still need to practice. I have not arrived. I have not achieved the goal of being the best listener that I can be. But I'm a work in progress. And I am progressing towards that goal of being the best listener that I can be. So I want you to practice being the best listener that you can be. You know, often we're not aware of our own shortcomings and weaknesses, but our relationships are important to us. And so that's why I want to dare to ask you honestly, do you think I listen well? Do you think I listen well? And I want you to get bold. And I want you to ask your family, your friends, your co-workers this question. Do you think I listen well? And be prepared. You may not like all the answers that you receive, but don't discard them. Don't go, what? She just don't know what she's talking about. Recognize when that defensiveness rises up within you. Surrender it to God and ask Him to help you, to lead you into becoming a better listener. So we want to do exercises that strengthen our ears, and you've already done one. If you massaged your ears at the beginning of this video, you work to bring your energies into balance, to help you gain a better understanding of what you're learning, of what you're hearing, and it's helped you to pay attention better. A lot of students use this practice in their classes. They enter their class. Nobody knows what they're doing. For all they know, their ears are itching and they're scratching them. But what they're doing is attuning themselves to better understand what their teacher is presenting. So, listening to God is foundational to being able to listen like God. So let me just ask you this. Do you think God's a good listener? Does He interrupt you? Does He offer advice that's unwanted? Does He just listen? One ways that we can prepare our hearts to listen to God is through worship. Beginning your day in worship. Listening to praise and worship music, stations like K-Love, music like Carrie Job, by people like Carrie Job, Cody Carnes. Now, as you listen, the Holy Spirit's going to fill your mind with only thoughts that are from Him as you're in that time of praise and worship. So after you do this, then read John chapter 6, verse 45, and then answer in a journal the following questions. What are some tangible ways to listen to God's voice? In what ways have you heard God's voice in the past? Now read 1 Samuel chapter 3, verses 1 through 14. How did Samuel hear God's voice? And what lesson is there for you to learn from this passage? Now sit quietly with your eyes closed for at least 3 minutes. Set a timer on your phone if you need. And ask the Lord to speak with you. He might lay something on your heart or bring something to your mind, a thought from the scripture that you just read. Write down what you feel Him speaking to you. Now let's talk a little bit about listening to your heart. Listening to your heart is focused on teaching you to understand what's in your heart. Until people really understand what's in their own hearts, they're often unable to focus attention on others. Because, to put it bluntly, they're kind of stuck on themselves. They have their own emotional baggage that keeps coming up in conversations. So take a few moments to sit still and ask yourself the following questions. Am I worried about anything? And if you are, make a list of your worries and then release them one by one by one to the Lord. Excuse me one moment. My little dogs are tearing the door down. Get here. I'm so sorry. Now ask yourself, am I feeling stressed or overwhelmed? What are the things that are making you feel stressed and overwhelmed? Make a list. Consciously choose to surrender that stress to the Lord. And go back to your ear massage. Massage your ears all over, top, bottom, inside, gently pulling them away from your head. This helps balance your energies. It helps you cope with stress, balance it, take care of some of the negative effects that it has on your body. But you need to recognize the areas that you're stressed in and start to deal with them. Now, what are some destructive patterns that often surface when you're trying to listen to someone? For example, do you interrupt? Do you give unsolicited advice? Do you try to fix other people's emotions? I used to wear that cap very well. It fit really good. I was Miss Fix-It. Thought I was. I can't fix anybody else. That's between them and God. But you know what I can do to help them? I can listen. I can listen. And you know, sometimes the people will say, well, what would you do in this situation? Well, you know what? Each situation is as unique and individual as you and I are. So what I might do in a certain situation, or what I think I might do in a certain situation, may not be what you would do in that situation. So is it fair for me to answer with anything above, I'm not you. I haven't walked a mile in your shoes. But here's what I can tell you. I'll support you, and if I think it's a mistake, I'll tell you, because I don't want to hurt you in any way. But the choice is yours. If I think it's a mistake and I tell you, you are still the one that must choose to do it or not do it. I don't have that responsibility. That's on you. And remember, I've told you before, responsibility is simply our response to our ability. So now I want you to write out a prayer asking the Lord to help you stop whatever pattern is surfacing most often. Ask the Lord to remind you throughout the day to be intentional while you're listening to others and to change that destructive pattern. And that's where we're going to stop for the day. And I pray that this has blessed you, that it has helped you, and I look forward to coming back, talking with you again soon. Listen, reach out, contact me. I love to hear from you. How can I be of better service to you? How can I show you the most value? What is the best way that I can serve you today? Let me know. Thank you, and God bless you.